Hello YouTube, and what we're going to be doing today is continuing the installation of basic system software, and we start with Groff. Last time we stopped at Find Utils and now we're at Groff. I'm just going to do where do I have the link? I've got too many tabs open here now. This is how my development machine at work looks, lots of tabs. So what we have here is general compilation instructions, and the important bit says that I'm not going to read this all out because I'll do it every video. However, use the tar command to extract the packages in the LFS sources directory, which is this directory here, the sources directory. Change the directory created, so you cd into it, following the instructions for building the package, come out of that directory, and then delete the source directory. So that's just a reminder, because even myself forgets these compilation instructions while doing it. So it's a good thing to go for a reminder, because that is the process that we have to follow in these sections. So we go back to Groff. So what we have to do first is tar xf Groff. I think it's Groff. And what is Groff? Groff package contains programs for processing and formatting text and images. Okay, cool. So we do tar xf, and then we cd into Groff. And then prepare Groff for compilation page. So what does it say? Let's just read this properly instead of just following the instructions. Groff expects the environment variable page to contain a default paper size. For the United States, page equals letter is appropriate. Elsewhere, page equals A4 may be more suitable. While the default paper size is configured during compilation, it can be overridden later by echoing either A4 letter to the etc paper size function. This looks like it's something for printers, okay? So we're in the UK, so it'll be A4, I guess. Not that it'll matter too much for this. And we just basically run the configure script. Then we do make check, and we've got two failed, X fail. What does X fail mean? It's not a fail, it's an X fail. What does X fail mean? Let's just all right. An X fail means that you expect this is PyTest, but this will be following the same conventions. Because Python generally follows the Unix conventions. So X fail means you expect a test to fail for some reason. A common example is a test for a feature not implemented or bug not yet fixed. All right, so that is something that we don't have to worry about. So that's good. So that's fine. So that passed. And make install. And that's Groff by the looks of it. So happy days. And then we're going to reinstall Grub. I unfortunately know far too much about Grub because I've been faffing with it because I used to actually break my Linux installation like every weekend because I used to distro hop and do all sorts of things back in the early 2000s. This is when I had a AMD Athlon 2500 plus, and I used to break my installation of Windows or thing, and then I had to actually learn how to actually use Grub from the Grub. The Grub has its own like command line and commands that you can actually give it while inside of it. However, typically that's not how you use it. You just see a boot menu when you boot up. However, yeah, so Grub, it says here, Grub package contains the Grand Unified Bootloader. Grub is, before Grub there was Lilo, by the way, and before Lilo there was probably something else, but I think there was Lilo, and there's I think there's a couple of others. There used to be one called GAC, which was actually really good. If you was using BSDs and Windows, it just used to work. Horrible name for a project. I thought it was GAC bootloader. Probably abandonware. Yeah, here we go. This one. This is actually really good. However, it only works on MBR, so this won't work on modern machines, which have a UEFI boot. But anyway, that's a complete aside from what we're doing. All right, so I don't know whether this is using MBR or UEFI. I get a feeling, so let's just come out of here quick. I think, is there an overview that tells me somewhere? I have no idea whether this uses UEFI or not. We'll find out. We'll find out at some point. I suppose I can inspect the EFI args. So let's just exit this. I think I'll just have to. No, there's a way of. I know there's a Linux from scratch thing, but I don't. All right. Just see if this exists. So firmware EFI. So SBIN. Yeah. Might not even have it installed. I suspect this is not EFI. So we're going to pretend that it's not EFI. And if we have to revisit this later, we'll have to recompile Grub. I don't want to muck around too much now. If we run into an issue, we'll deal with it then. Because I've reinstalled and recompiled Grub God knows how many times. I'm not too worried about this. Right, let's just unset these flags. Add a missing. Right, so the first step it wants is add a file missing from the release table. Okay. Oh, I'm in the wrong bloody directory. See, straight away, don't get it right. So what we need to do is unset, and then echo depends, BLI, part GPT, blah, 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 blah. So what that's doing is it's creating a file, but yeah, so it's creating a file there. So that's all it's doing. And I've got lost. Right, let's start from the start. Grub. There we go. CD grub. There we go. And now, oh. See, I talked about following this procedure, and I got carried away talking about other things and lost my train of thought. So let's CD to grub. And let's just unset these variables again. I'm not sure if I unset them now. So unset them and again, won't hurt. And then we make the file. And then prepare Grub for compilation. So sysconfig directory etc. That's pretty obvious. Prefix USR. Disable EFI emulation and disable W error. So all disable W error does is turn off a certain set of warnings in C and C++, if you're unfamiliar. So I don't even have to read that because I actually know what those are. And so, yeah, so we do mate. This won't take long to build, I don't imagine. Or won't imagine. Right, test suite for this package is not recommended. Well, we're not going to run it then. It says most of the tests depend on a package that are not available in the limited LFS environment. And to run the test anyway, run make tech check. Yeah. So now, to install the package and move the bash completer file support to the location recommended by the bash completion maintainers. Okay. So that's make install, and then it's some completion scripts. Okay, done. That's going to be another quick one. There we go. Grub's done. Let's do Gzip now. Before we do that, make sure I follow procedure before I forget. RF grub. And it's tar xf gzip. So it's compressed. You know, I think we've done gzip before, but it's a gzip package contains programs for compressing and decompressing files. It's zip. You know, basically, or a compression, a zipping algorithm. So this is all very standard. So this is just regular configure step. Run that. See, I like these. These are nice and straightforward. That's how it should be. Right. Make check. So no failed tests, one skipped, that's fine. That's done. That's Gzip. Right. What is IP root 2? So IP root 2 package contains programs for basic and advanced IPv4 based networking. Well, we're going to need that if we want networking. Installation of IP root 2, it says here. The ARPD program, including this package, will not be built since it depends on Berkeley DB, which is not installed in LFS. However, a directory and a man page for ARPD will still be installed. Prevent this by running the commands shown below. Right. So it looks like it removes that line in the makefile. And it removes removes the man page by the looks of it. I could have just copied both lines. Removes, it just deletes a entry from the man page. I'm in the wrong thing again. I'm an idiot. So rm minus rf gzip, and then we have to go back to the procedure. IP root, there we go, and then we cd to IP root, and now let's try to do it properly. So we run that, and all that seems to do is remove the remove a line from the make file, which is ARPD from the make file by the looks of it, and then it removes the man page. Yeah. So said. I'm just gonna do explain shell on that, so I'm not telling you lies. Yeah, it just said it's a file. I think probably D deletes it. I don't really know. Compile the package. So, okay. Like a bigger step on this. Package does not have a working test for you. Okay. Install the package. So this goes to tells it where the sbin directory is. Sbin is like super user binaries. So binaries that are meant to be used for the root, I believe. So I probably got that wrong. If install the documentation. I always like documentation. Right, that's done. Right, so I've popped out like 3 times a day. So we need a CD out of here and rm minus rf IP root. And then we are doing KBD 2.7.1. The KBD package contains a key table files, console fonts, and keyboard utilities. So this is stuff to do. This is stuff that your keyboard needs. So we need to tar xf kb. Was it kbd? There we go. Oh, there's a patch there. That's why. The behavior of the backspace and delete keys is not consistent across the key maps in the KBD package. The following patch fixes the issues for the i386 key map. So that's basically like PC ones, basically, is what they mean. Oh, I haven't CD'd into it. There we go. Right, it says here, after patching, the backspace key generates a character code with code 127 and delete key generates a well-known escape sequence. Okay. Remove the redundant resize icons program. It requires the defunct SVGA lib to provide the video modes file for normal use set font sizes. What? It requires the defunct SVGA lib to provide the video mode for normal use. All right, it's just that's throwing me off. Set font sizes the console appropriately. The way that reads, because of where it cuts the line, is a bit weird. Together with its man page. So it looks like we're removing some bits and pieces from the package that we're not going to need. So that looks like it removes a lot. It goes to change some lines of the configure scripts and the make file. Okay. Fair KBD for compilation. Okay, let's do that. Disable vlock. I'm not sure what that is. We'll do that as it runs. The option prevents a vlock utility from being built because it requires a PAM library, which isn't available in the Chroot environment. Okay. And then it's make its usual procedure. Make check. Make install. And for some languages, e.g. Belarusian, the keyboard package doesn't provide a useful key map. Well, it's not relevant to me. I'm in the UK. I don't care. I can't even remember where Belarus is half the time. Where the stock by key map assumes the ISO 88595 encoding and the CP1251 key map is usually used. Users of such languages have to download working key maps separately. Okay, so if you're Belarusian and you're doing Linux from scratch, you've got to do that bit, work out yourself. And that installs the docs. Done. So it's clear screen. CD out there. That's RM minus RF KBD. And we're going to RXF lib pipeline. There we go. And we're going to CD into it. Oh, there we go. The Libpipeline package contains a library for manipulating pipelines of sub-processes in a flexible and convenient way. I'm not sure what that means. I'll be quite honest. Well, I kind of do, but I wouldn't be able to explain it at a job interview if somebody asked me. I won't be able to explain it to you well either. Not that like any of my explanations are that great. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do make and then make install. That's done. So this was a lot easier than the first lot. So CD out of here with RM minus RF lib pipeline. We clear the screen and we're going to install make. So we've been using make and then we're going to build it again. We're going to use make to build make. So we need to tar xf make and cd make, and it's the user configure stuff pretty much. So we do configure make, use make to make like that, and we're on the test suite, so this looks like it uses a test user. Okay. Right, so 1,444 tests in 134 categories complete, and there was no failures with a smiley face by the looks of it. That's good. Everything's okay, so we do install. And we cd out of here, we rm -rf make. There we go. And then we clear the screen, we extract patch. So we're doing patch now. .xf patch. So we do the configure step. Then make check. So no failures, so that's fine. We're done. So we're going to build tar next. Oh, this is going really well other than the couple of times we've got the CD into the right place and got the tar the right place. It's just going very straightforward, a lot of this. So we cd ... and then we rm/rf. What we was building before, patch. And then we do a tar xf tar. So we go we untar tar. So I'm not going to read this. Well, I should probably read this out, but the tar package provides the ability to create tar archives as well as perform various other kinds of archive manipulation. Tar can be used in previously created archives to extract files, to store additional files, or to update or list files which were already stored. So I think in one of the earlier videos, I went over how this was, I think it was for tape archiving. People still use tapes for backups. So we've got a configure step. Yeah, so force unsafe configure. So equals 1. 1 is usually just set to true flag, essentially. This forces test for mknod to be run as root. It is generally considered dangerous to run this test as root user, but as it's being run on a system that has only been partially built, overriding is okay. Okay. So do make check. Right, that's done. And now we just do install. We do make install, and we install the docs. So let's just get this the bit we actually want to copy and paste. Done. Now we're back to Texinfo. Now we've compiled this before when it's making a temporary system, I'm sure. So, but before we do that, we need to rm minus rf or 1.35, and we type xf Texinfo. Right, and we seed into Texinfo. So Texinfo package contains programs for reading, writing, converting info pages. Info pages are like an alternative to man pages. Robert Elder actually has a very good video talking about info pages and man pages. So if you're interested in the distinction between the two, I would look up Robert Elder's video on it. He really knows this stuff inside out. Right, now we do make. Make check. It's all for one. Oh, right, okay. I think yeah, that looks like they all complete okay. I didn't see any red, and I didn't see any fail, so we're good. Probably find out in 2 video time or not. Is that red there? Oh, it's just a warning. That's fine. Don't have to worry about it. Right. Well, I could have just cleared the screen. Yeah, we did make install, and then optionally install the components belonging to the TX installation. Yeah, we'll install that. Why not? And what? Let's have let's have a quick, because I'm kind of going through this a bit quickly. So the text mf makefile variable holds the location of the root of the TEX tree. For example, a text package will be a text package that we install later. So I've used latex. I've not used text on its own, so not know too much about it, to be honest. Look, is PDF. Like you can, looks like you can convert things to PDF, etc. The info documentation system uses a plain text file to hold its list of menu entries. The file is located at USR share info dir. Unfortunately, due to occasional problems in makefiles of various packages, it can sometimes get out of sync with the info pages installed on the system. If the USR shared info dir file ever needs to be recreated, the following optional commands will accomplish this task. Okay, we'll recreate it. It's probably be created okay. Okay, so we're done on that one, and we're installing Vim. I actually did a video on how to install Vim from source code for using with uComplete.me, which is a text completer. However, this will be a little bit different, I suspect. So Vim is it's worth learning at least a little bit how to use it. I'm not amazing at using it, and I won't pretend to be. So Vim really needs no introduction. This is some alternatives to Vim. Let's just use Vim. I'm quite happy with Vim. Joe and Nano and Emacs. I've never really used Emacs. It might be great for all I know. I've decided to learn Vim and keep with that. Whenever I'm doing development at work, I use a full-blown JetBrains IDE. I don't muck around because I need to get shit done. So that is how that. I don't use Vim for doing anything other than basic edits and git commits and stuff. So anyway, the installation of Vim. First, change the default location of the Vim RC configuration file to etc. Okay. We have to get out of this first. RMF, follow the procedure. I'm getting carried away because I like Vim. And then tar xf Vim. There we go. cd Vim. And then yeah. There we go. That's that done. Prepare Vim for compilation. So this is configure, make. Now I don't think this has any support for things like Python and that in there. Or maybe I'm wrong. Right, so what it says here for testing, to prepare the test, ensure that you use a tester can write the source tree and exclude one file containing tests required curl or wget. Okay. Right, so there's a file that there's a test that requires wget and curl. We want to disable that because we don't have those utilities at the moment. So that makes sense. Now run the tests as user tester. So we'll do that. Right, the next bit, while we wait for that to complete, we'll do the next bit. Many users reflexively type vi instead of vim to allow execution of vim when users habitually enter vi. Create a symlink for both the binary and the man page in the provided languages. Okay. So you don't really have vi, you have vim. Oh, I didn't install it. So I need to do make install. I got carried away. And now we do that, and now that works. Okay, that's fine. I was more interested in this than and we didn't cat the. Let's just cat the. Vim. So maybe because I had my terminal like squished up at the side there, it was too small, and I thought it ran a bit too quickly. So the terminal size might affect the tests. It's interesting. Let's just let those run. And then if it's okay, we just reinstall it again. No, we probably won't have to do that though. Right. So let's just inspect the end of that again. So that time it worked correctly, and that's because my terminal was the right size. So that's interesting. So we'll do make install again now. I don't think it actually makes any difference. And we've already symlinked those. We'll just run it again, won't hurt. What's going on here? Oh, it's just complaining file access. That's fine. By default, Vim documentation installed in USR share Vim. The following symlink allows the documentation to be accessed via USR share .vim 9.1.1166, making it consistent with the location of documentation for other packages. Okay. Yeah, if an X Windows system is going to be installed in the LFS system, it may be necessary to recompile Vim after installing X. Vim comes with a GUI version of the editor that requires X and some additional libraries to be installed. Yeah, that's gvim basically. For more information on this process, refer to the Vim documentation and Vim installation page in the BLFS book. So if you're using Debian, there's like several packages for Vim. So if I do list grep Vim, there's Vim GTK, and there's Vim Nox. Is it Vim Nox? Yeah. So by default, Debian disables So when you do install Vim in Debian, it goes and disables basically all the extra bits. So things like you complete me don't work. I think it does have. I think it does have. It does install gvim, but I can't remember. It's not important anyway. So yeah, you got Vim pathogen. Like so, you've got like I installed my own version of pathogen, or not pathogen. I forget the thing I use. However, yeah. So basically, that's what they're talking about. This in proper in a full on distro, there'll be a lot of different Vim flavors, and if you're using something like OpenBSD, you'll have use flags, or FreeBSD with ports. You'll have use flags. You can enable, disable different options, and if you compile it by source, you will have different configure. You have different. You'll have a different configure step. So we're just going to do that. There we go. That's done. Right, okay. It's a bit of a confusing command, that is. Okay, I'm not going to worry about it too much. So symlinks. I'm just going to assume that this is correct. I find that a little bit confusing. I may look it up later. I'm a little bit worried time today. So we need to configure Vim. By default, Vim runs in Vi-compatible mode. This may be new to users who have used other editors in the past. The no compatible setting is included below to highlight the fact that a new behavior is being used. Yeah, it does. It disables the bloody delete key, I think. It also reminds those who would change to compatible mode that it should be the first setting in the configuration file. This is necessary because it changes other settings and overrides must come after this setting. Creating a default Vim configuration file by running the follow. So what this does is it creates like a top level Vim RC by the sounds of it. And then it has an order which it runs its stuff in. Right, I'm not going to read out all these parameters because you can look these up yourself. Okay, I've never used step background dark. Yeah, so basically it sets a set of options that are you can override later, but it's typically useful. Yeah. So documentation for other available options can be obtained by running the following command. Okay. I'm not going to be doing that now. Yeah, I'm not going to be, I don't care about the spelling. Not interested. I find the spell check is like kind of annoying, because especially if you're using anything that's code related in there, it gets a lot of stuff wrong. So you have to keep telling it, go, no, this is actually how I want it spelled. But anyway, let's get on to MarkupSafe. So Vim's compiled by the looks of it. So do we have Vim now? Yeah, look, there's Vim. So we need to do MarkupSafe. So we delete the Vim source tree. We tar xf MarkupSafe, which is the one we're doing now. This looks like it's a Python package, so this will be very simple. So there's no test suite from this package by the looks of it. That's that done. Install the package. So anything Python typically doesn't have a compile step because it's interpreted. And then we have to install Ginger 2. Ginger 2 is a Python module that implements a simple Pythonic template language. No, I wouldn't suggest. I wonder what this is used for in this. Yeah, Ginger I've used with Flask when building like websites or web apps with it. I've never seen it used. It's obviously used. Oh, I need to cd into the file. And then we need right. Udev from SystemD. Oh. Right, we're gonna be. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's fine. So we delete that as per usual, and tar xf udev, I'm guessing. Oh, wait a minute. Udev is part of the SystemD package. Use the SystemD tarball. Okay, so we need that one instead. Remove two unneeded groups, render and SGX. The default Udev from the default Udev rules. Okay. SGX is something to do with some processor stuff, process protections on Intel processors, I think. Oh, we haven't. With one Udev rule requiring a full SystemD installation. Adjust the hard-coded path to network configuration files for the standalone Udev installation. Okay. Prepare Udev for compilation. Right, we're going to run that. And while we do that, we'll read the options. So build type release, the switch overwrites the default build type debug, which produces unoptimized binaries. Okay, that makes sense. Mode equals release. Disable some features considered experimental by upstream. Dev KVM mode equals 06660. The default Udev rule would allow all users to access dev KVM. The editors consider it dangerous. This option overrides it. Okay. Link Udev shared equals false. Like usually if there's a right, so this option prevents. I completely misunderstood what that was. So I should have read it first. This option prevents Udev from linking to the internal SystemD shared library, libsystemd shared. The library is designed to be shared by many SystemD components and is too overkill for Udev only installation. So hopefully, I don't really want. I would like to have a system without SystemD, without having to use something like Artix or Devuan or whatever it's called. These login D equals false and V console equals false. These options prevent the generation of several Udev rules files belonging to the other SystemD components that we won't install. Okay, that's done. Let's take a breath. Now we get the list of the shipped Udev helpers and save it to an environments variable. Exporting is not strictly necessary, but it makes building as a regular user or using a package manager easier. Okay. So if we ever turn this into a distro, we'll have to worry about stuff like that. Like, and I'll probably get bitten in the backside because I won't remember this. Only build the components needed for Udev. Okay. So this is using Ninja to compile. That's why we needed to build Ninja beforehand. Right, install the package. So there's a lot of these installs basically copy with some flags essentially. And it looks like we just copy a bunch of files in different places. So there's a PC file for the package config, headers for the include. That's where your libs are. By the looks at USR lib, it copies a load of stuff into there. A Udev D, not sure what that is. System hardware DB. I'm assuming that's something to do with the hardware database. Something to do with package config. Oh yes, it's right. So it's just copying a load of files over. That's fine. Install some custom rules and support files useful in the LFS environment. We should have it. Oh, I didn't delete that. I bet I deleted that tar. So let's just get it again. So CD. So what I did is I cocked up earlier. Voiceness. There we go. So what we need to do, we need to go into Mount LFS sources here. So on the original video, I forgot to download some tarballs. Well, I did check that all the tarballs were downloaded successfully, because some of the links in this book are not correct, or are not currently correct. So we're just going to wget this, and we need to go back into that sources build directory. Where was it? SystemD build. Okay. Then we need to go back to here, and we need to run this again. Now this should, because the actual tarball is there, it should work correctly. Yes. And then we install the man pages. So this is the man pages. There's a tarball there, so hopefully I won't delete that one as well. And I'm not sure what this does. It goes and it edits a load of files. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I know you should understand what you're running, and I roughly know what it's doing. I don't know exactly what it's doing, but I do roughly know what it's doing. So it's basically extracting the man pages, and then it's making some changes to those man pages, and and some other bits and pieces. So that's roughly what that's doing. Some of this stuff I feel like I'm a little bit out of my depth, but that's okay. That's just why we've got a guide. Oh look, we've got some more of this to do. So we need to unset. So finally unset the Udev help is variable. Okay. I've just done that. Right. So it says here, information about hardware devices maintained in the etc udev hardwaredb.d and the usr lib udev hardwaredb.d directories. Udev needs that information to be compiled into a binary database. etc udev hwdb.bin, create the initial database. Okay. Command needs to run each time the hardware information is updated. Okay. We'll go on to ManDB. So we need a CD out here, and then we rm -rf system D253. There we go. And then we clear this, and we do man DB. We see doing man DB. And there's some configure step, and while that's configuring, I'll read the options and what they mean. So disable set UID disables making the man program set UID to the user man. Enable cache owner equals bin. Changing ownership of the system wide cache files to the user bin. Okay. With these parameters are used for some default programs. Links is a text-based web browser. vgrind converts program sources to Groff input, and grep is used for typesetting graphs in Groff documents. The vgrind and grep programs are not normally needed for viewing manual pages. They are not part of LFS or BLFS, but you should be able to install them yourself after finishing LFS if you wish to do so. Okay. Probably don't. There's so many little Unix tools and utilities in your base system that you just don't know about. There's a lot of things here I've never even heard of. Non-English manual pages in LFS. I don't care. I'm not going to be reading anything else. So, and I don't have to do anything. So we go out there and we're going to install Procps-ng package contains programs for monitoring processes. That sounds pretty important. So we need to rm for that. We do demand db blah blah blah, and we do tar xf proc. There we go. Prepare proc psng for compilation. Okay. Oh, I haven't cd'd in there. Classic. Right, meeting the configure options. So disable kill. This switch disables building the kill command. It will be installed from the Utils Linux package. Okay, well that's the next one up. Enable watch 8-bit. This switch enables the NCAS SW support for the watch command, so it can handle 8-bit characters. So okay, compile the package. So we do make or make. We type it properly. And then we compile the test suite. Have a quick look at this. Don't see any failures. Let's keep them going. Oh, why did make test somewhere else, I guess? That looks, there's no failures, I don't think. That's good. Right. And now we do make install. See that up here. And we get out there. And we tar xf utils Linux. Oh. I didn't delete the source dir at utils. Okay. No, I must have previously extracted it. So and not forgotten to delete it. Happens. So cd into there, and there's a lot of compile options. So the disable and without option event warnings about building companions that either require packages not in LFS or inconsistent with the programs installed by other packages. Compile the package. Okay. Oh, I can't type today. Right, it's a warning about a test, and I'm gonna leave it. So that's saying that has to be. I think this is saying that it has to be done after the LFS system is running. Well, completed and running. So I'm just going to ignore that. If desired, create a dummy etc fstep file to satisfy 2 tests and run the test suite as a non-root user. Okay, that's all that does there. Right, so it's telling me that some tests will fail if I don't have this config crypto user API hash enabled in the kernel. In addition, on the LSFD, iNotify test will fail if the kernel option config netlink diag is not enabled. Well, I don't know whether they're enabled in Debian, but it does say that they're all 313 tests passed. So I think that is relevant. It doesn't seem what it says there, but it's, you know, it is what it is. All right, we're over an hour. Where are we? Oh, I've got 3 left. Right. Let's do it. Let's just complete this. So we need to delete that. I didn't delete it last time. And then we need to tar xf e2 fs procs. We cd into that. And then we make a build directory, b build, and then cd build. We'll run a configure and we'll run, see what that says. So the meaning of the configure option. So enable elf sh libs. This creates the shared library which some programs in this package use. Okay. So these disable options prevent the building and installing of libuid and libblkid libraries and the uuid daemon and the fs fusk wrapper. Utils Linux installs more recent versions. Yeah, so blkid is, if you don't know, blk. Oh, I not got it installed on here. Maybe it's sbin. This goes and shows you information about your disks, basically. Where so each disk, I think it's in the GPT partition format, will have this UUID as an identifier. I actually broke my EFI partition when reinstalling Windows this weekend, so I had to chroot into Debian from a Debian live CD and repair all of that manually, which is a pain. And I became very familiar with these tools. And UUID, maybe that doesn't have UUID, and I'm not sure what they are, but it's a total digression. So we won't get into that. So that's configured, and then we do make. And then make check. You know, Windows 11 completely blatted that EFI partition, and I had to completely rebuild it, reinstall Grub, and do a load of other stuff. And it's all because I had to do all of that because Windows just just refused to update, and there was no logs of why it would do it or anything. And unfortunately, Windows used to be Linux. A lot of Linux users will claim the opposite, but Windows has been traditionally a lot more reliable than. So Windows has been traditionally a lot more reliable as a desktop system than Linux. However, that is no longer the case. Windows 11 is just garbage. It's one of the worst version of Windows ever. Windows 8 was pretty bad, and Vista pre-Service Pack 1 was terrible. So the 32-bit version of Vista was always garbage. The 64-bit version of Vista was actually good after Service Pack 1. After Service Pack 2, it was basically Windows 7. So if you was running Vista Service Pack 2, it was pretty much Windows 7 underneath. I think they even had the same kernel version, Windows kernel version. However, this is another digression. However, so did that did the make check. What right to run the test issue make check? So test failed. M assumed storage pre-zeroed. Is that an issue? Oh, one test named M assumed storage pre-zeroed is known to fail. Okay, well that's good. Another test named M root dir ACL is known to fail if the file system used for the LFS system is not ext4. I always use ext4 because I don't really understand what the benefits of the other file systems are. To be honest, and I don't understand how they mount them and do other bits and pieces. It's too much for me these days. I just want ext4 seems to work fine. Very boring. And then it says remove the user static library. So let's do that. This package installs a Gzip info file but doesn't update the system-wide dir file. Unzip this file and then update the SystemD file using the following commands, okay? If desired, create and install some additional documentation by issuing the following commands. Yep. No, we're good. I'm always a little bit worried that I haven't always scrolled down enough. Right, so configuring E2FS progs. It says here, etc make mke2fs.conf contains the default value for various command lines of mke2fs. I'm sure there's like, somebody says it in a very clever way, but I all say it in a dumb way because I have no idea how you're supposed to say it. You may edit the file to make the default values suitable for your needs. Like everybody says etc, like that. To me, that looks like etc. For example, some utilities not in LFS or BFS cannot recognize an ext4 file system with the metadata C some C feature enabled. If you need such a utility, you may remove the feature from the default ext4 feature list with the command. Maybe we'll need it. I don't feel like reading the man page today. You should read the man pages. I'm getting a little bit despondent with this. All right, the Sysklogd 2.7.0. The Sysklogd package contains programs for logging system messages, such as those emitted by the kernel when unusual things happen. So we have to get out of here first. And E2FS. And then we need a tar XF. Why is it Sysklogd? Why is it not just Sysklogd? Sure, there's a good reason for it. Right. So this is the regular configure step. Oh, God. Make install. And then in configuring Sysklogd, create a new etc syslog.conf by running the following, okay? So this goes and creates a configuration file, all that does. Oh, this is where these are all the varlog bits and pieces. Okay. I wondered what configured that. Okay. And I think this is the last package. So we cd out of here, rm-rf. What was we installing a second ago? Sysklogd. There we go. And we tar xf sysv. It's going to be lowercase. Come on. Oh, wait a minute. Have I untarred this by accident before? Oh, look, yeah. Oh, no, it's got some patch files. Okay. cd sysv. First, apply a patch that removes several programs stored by other packages, clarifies the message, and fixes a compiler warning. Okay. So we run that patch. Make. And I suspect this is why people like this SysVinit. So I think this is the alternative to SystemD, isn't it? Yeah. So this is why people prefer it to SystemD, because I think SystemD is a bit of a monster. It's huge. Whereas this is, you know, it took hardly any time to compile. It's like 2 megabytes in size. This is not very much these days, is it? Right, now that's done. And we've installed everything. So we've got some cleanup to do. However, let's just read this page. Most programs and libraries are by default compiled with debugging symbols included, with GCC's G option. This means that when debugging a program or library that was compiled with debugging information, the debugger can provide not only the memory addresses, but also the names of routines and variables. The inclusion of the debugging system enlarges the program or library significantly. Yes, it does. Here are 2 examples of the amount of space these symbols combined. Bash binary debugging system symbols is 1200 kilobytes. Without is 480 kilobytes, so 60% smaller. I'm not going to read it all out. It's basically it's a lot smaller, so 82% smaller for glibc and GCC files without the debugging system. Sizes will vary depending on which compiler and the C library were used, but a program that has been stripped of debugging symbols is usually some 50% to 8% smaller than its unstripped counterparts. Because most users will never use a debugger on the system software, a lot of this space can be regained by removing these symbols. The next section shows how to strip all debugging system symbols from programs and libraries. I'm probably not going to debug these unless I need to. So I'm going to strip. This section is optional. If the intended user is not a programmer and does not plan to do any debugging of system software, the system sizes can be decreased by some 2 gigabytes by removing debug systems and some unnecessary table entries from binaries and libraries. This causes no real inconvenience to a typical Linux user. I'm not going to read all of this. Oh, maybe I should. Most people use the commands mentioned below, do not experience any difficulties. However, it's easy to make a mistake and render the new system unusable. So before running the strip commands, it's a good idea to make a backup of the LFS in the current state. A strip command with the strip unneeded option removes all debug symbols from a binary or library. Also removes all symbol table entries not needed by the linker for static libraries or dynamic linker for dynamically linked binaries and shared libraries. You know what? I might not run this. The debugging system from selected libraries are compressed with zlib and preserved in separate files. That debugging information is needed to run regression tests with Valgrind and the GDBD later in BLFS. Now, I might do that depending on how I feel by the end of this workbook, because I found this to be not as interesting as I thought it would be. There's some bits I've been quite interested in, other bits have just been copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. I don't think it seems there's a lot of detail in here which I think could probably be removed. I know there's a TLDR version of the Linux from Scratch book, but you know, you should probably do the actual Linux from Scratch book before you do the more concise version. Note the strip will overwrite binary or library file it's processing. This can crash the process using code or data from the file. If processing running script is failed, the binary or library strip can be. You know, I'm not gonna run this. Let's just go to cleanup. I don't like this. Right, finally cleaning up. Finally clean up some extra files left over from running tests. Okay, let's do that. Just get out of here. Get back to sources. And there are also several files in the usr-lib and usr-lib exec directories with file name extension of LA. These are libtool archive files. On a modern Linux system, the libtool.la files are only useful for LTDL. No libraries in LFS are expected to be loaded by LTDL. And it's known that some LA files can break BLFS package builds. Remove these files now. Okay, let's get rid of them then. They're crap. Let's just go. Let's get rid. For information about libtool archive files, see the BLFS section about the libtool archive LA files. I know this is trying to be helpful, but it's at this point, it's kind of it's a lot. There's a bit of noise. This book is very concise and it is very well written. However, sometimes there's a little bit too much information. That's why I was tutting there. The compiler built in chapter 6 and 7 is still partially installed and not needed anymore. Remove it with the following command. So this is black, this old compiler. Boom, you're gone. Finally, remove the temporary tester user account created at the beginning of the previous chapter. There we go. Done. Oh. Okay. There was no var mail tester. And now we are on to chapter 9. And that's the end of this video. So that took me a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. in this video, I kind of just wanted to get to the end of it, to be honest. I am a little bit tired today and I am suffering from hay fever. So my concentration has been not as good as it has been in other videos, because I usually make myself a nice cup of tea, sit down and make sure I'm well slept on a Saturday morning when I do these videos. However, I am keen to keep up the pace with this so we can get to the end of it, and possibly do some more interesting things in the BLFS book. And the thing that really interests me is the Automated Linux from Scratch book, which I think for me is much more interesting, because that leads into how you would build a distro, and that's very more software engineering to me. That's what I do for a living, is I'm a software engineer, and that is very much more along my interest. So I'm quite keen to get to the end of this, get something working, and understand sort of like the whole. You know, I've got a good idea now, got a good picture of all the steps that are needed to build a Linux system completely from source, which is good. And so if I sounded a bit despondent in places, that's why I was very keen to get to the end. And we're there now, even though this video is going to be well over an hour and a half. So hopefully people found this useful. And hopefully I'll see you again in the next video, which might be doing this system configuration. So bye-bye for now.